What if $10,000 could replace your full-time salary? Most people see financial freedom as a $1 million goal, but today we're flipping the script. I'm sharing the exact strategy that shows you how to turn $10K into $5,000 of monthly income, all through smart investments and lines of credit which you have. Why settle for 9-to-5 stress when freedom is this close? Stay with me and I'll outline every single step. Imagine having access to $10,000 that doesn't just sit in an account. This money is actively multiplying itself for you. And here's the twist. You're not even touching your own cash. That's the power of leveraging lines of credit, or LOCs, which is one of the most underrated tools for building wealth. So before we dive deeper, let me explain how lines of credit work and why they're nothing like credit cards or traditional loans. So what exactly is a line of credit? I need you to think of it like a financial revolving door. Instead of receiving a lump sum like with a loan, you get access to a set limit of money that you can use, repay, and reuse over time. Unlike credit cards, which typically come with sky-high interest rates and a reputation for impulsive spending, lines of credit are designed to be much more flexible and sustainable. So whether you use a small portion or the full amount, you only pay interest on what you actually borrow, not the whole limit. Now, let's be honest, one major concern people have is risk. It's normal to think, isn't it dangerous to borrow money? Couldn't interest pile up and overwhelm me? But here's the key difference. We're not talking about swiping for vacations or random purchases. LOCs, lines of credit, when used properly, function more like a tactical tool, a financial wrench in your wealth building toolbox. Done right, you're borrowing with intention, directing that borrowed money into something that pays you back. And I'll show you how to make that clear in a moment. To break this down even further, we need to understand the two primary types of LOCs, okay? Secured and unsecured. So here's a demonstration of what we were talking about. $10,000 in the savings account and then $10,000 in the line of credit, all right? So with one, right, you can go ahead and keep that there in the savings account, while your line of credit, right, let's say it's unsecured, secured, is working for you. Meaning, let's go ahead and put this towards an asset that makes you $340 each and every month at about 8 to 15%, okay, ROI. Now, that $10,000 is right there. And with your cash flow, let's say you have a cash flow of at least $1,000, let's say, 10 months, you'll be able to pay this bad boy off and then deploy again for another $340 a month, all right? Now, remember, the $340 a month goes to where? Because that's yours. That's right. It goes to decreasing the time we eliminate our debt in the line of credit, okay? So each time you go back and you replenish that $10,000, you can make another investment that is going to yield you, let's say, another $340 a month. Now, of course, it's going to vary. All the while in your savings account, it's staying right there. While this, you are drawing from, you're investing, you're replenishing, and you're doing it over and over and over again. Now, you can go ahead and leave a comment below to let me know if you feel secure in using a line of credit to give you passive income each and every month. So secure lines of credit require collateral, like a home equity line of credit, okay, commonly called a HELOC. This uses the equity in your house as backing. This makes it more accessible to homeowners and allows for lower interest rates since the bank sees it as a lower risk situation. On the other hand, unsecured lines of credit don't require any collateral, but they often come with slightly higher interest rates. These include personal lines of credit like PLOCs, which require good credit to qualify, and business lines of credit, which are tied to your business performance and can be a lifeline for entrepreneurs. So here's where lines of credit become more than just convenient. They give you access to liquidity, the ability to use money without depleting your own savings. Think about that opportunity for a second. If you had $10,000 sitting in the bank, That's cash tied up, it's stationary. But if you keep that money in your account while borrowing $10,000 from your line of credit for a targeted investment, your liquidity, the financial cushion you have on hand, increases. Now, why does this matter? Because having access to liquidity means you can seize opportunities without risking your emergency fund or long-term nest egg. This is where the real magic of line of credit begins. Here's a simple example to make that clear. Let's say you want to invest in something like a high yield lending or a micro business. Instead of spending the $10,000 you already saved, leaving your account drained, imagine pulling that same amount from a line of credit to fund the investment. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop right into it here. We have $10,000 and our goal is to make sure that $10,000 turns into $5,000 a month. But you know what? This is incomplete. We need to make sure that we have the income and the expenses. So let's just go ahead and take the national average of income, 5K a month, national average of expenses, 3K a month. It's going to leave you with 2K in cash flow. Let's go ahead and put a C there, an E here, and then an I right here. Okay, now we have the $2,000 in monthly cash flow, but you know what? Let's go ahead and just take that down to maybe $500, all right? I wanna make sure that this is letting you know you don't need gargantuan sums of cash flow in order to make sure you have income that is going to replace your earned income, okay? We're talking about passive income replacing your earned income, and that's what we want to do. So let's just say it's actually 4.5K here are the expenses. It's going to leave you with $500 in expenses, okay? Now, some of you may be less than that. Please do not be discouraged. We're gonna show you how to get out of perhaps the job that you didn't wanna be at. Maybe you have a calling and you need to get there within 3 years. We're gonna show you how to do that through passive income, all right? Now, we showed you already know probably about the secured and unsecured, but we want to make sure that you do know about that, all right? 10K at 8%, all right? $500 in cash flow is what we're working with, but we know how to spend money, but do we know how to turn the line of credit into monthly cash flow? This is how, okay? Now, let's say you get an investment, okay? Short-term amortized short-time amortized investment. Do you remember that word amortized? That's right. That's what the banks use on you. They get the principal, they get the interest, you get nothing, okay? We want to go ahead and make sure that we are getting the principal and interest, all right? Does that make sense? We're going to turn that around. So let's say we we invest the $10,000 to get $340 in monthly cash flow. That's right, that investment of $10,000, it's making sure that we get back $340 each and every month for, let's say, the next several years, all right? Now that may not seem like a very good deal, right? But remember, as you are building up your line of credit, you know what else is building up? Your ability to make another investment of $10,000. Okay, now if we had the $2,000 in cash flow, we would be able to pay back that line of credit in about 5 months, all right? And so us subtracting the cash flow that we have right now, well, that's hindering our ability. However, now we have more cash flow coming from that $10,000 line of credit investment to our short-term amortized investment, okay? Now that $340 is coming to us, and we can add that to our cash flow, okay? It's gonna place us at $840. Now, let's go ahead and take the $840 and divide that by 10K. Does that make sense? We're gonna divide it by 10K, and we're gonna share with you how many months it's gonna take us to pay off that line of credit. So it's gonna take you about 11 months to go ahead and pay off that $10,000 line of credit that you invested to get back $340 a month. Now remember, you're not paying out. See, you invested the $10,000, right? Now remember, when you spent the $10,000, you'd pay the $340, the $400, whatever that lending institution commanded you to pay on that minimum monthly payment. In this scenario, it's not the case. This money is coming to you. That's what we need you to focus on, all right? Because that's going to set you free. And so this $10,000 is done in about 11 months, right? And then what can you do? That's right. You can go ahead and deploy again the $10,000 for, let's say, another $340 a month passive income, all right? Let's go ahead and add that $340 a month to the cash flow, because now that it's yours, you have control of it. Now you are at $1,180. Now, is it going to take you the same amount of time that it took you to pay this off with the $840 in cash flow? I trow not, okay? This $1,180 is going to go down here below the $10,000 numerator, and we're going to see how fast that is going to be paid off. Guys, now this part is what's so exciting, all right? Guess what? Because of the cash flow, it's going to take you 8 months instead of the 11. Now remember, this $1,180 is yours. It's not going anywhere except to you, okay? It's staying in the line of credit because you're using your line of credit wisely. Does that make sense? And so now that we're using our line of credit wisely, we're seeing the benefits of it by hastening the time portal to 8 months. This is a time collapse transaction, folks. Every time you increase in cash flow, it shrinks the time of your debt elimination, right? But here, we're not talking about debt. We're talking about the L word. And it doesn't stand for loser, all right? Leverage. Yeah, that's when you buy assets, things that make you money. Now, let's go ahead and continue on here. We, at the end of 8 months, not 11, are now back to 10K, right? Okay. Now, what are we going to do? That's right. We're going to get another investment at 340. Now, CJ doesn't have to be 340 each and every time. No, it could be more. And you know what? If we're not doing things wisely, it could be less, right? But you know what? It can be more than that. It can be less than that, right? It can be 280. But is 280 bad? It's still cash flow, positive cash flow. All right. So now $340 plus $1,180. Now we are at what? Folks, I think you get the picture because you're pretty smart. We're already $1,520. How many months have went by? Let's just count them, right? Let's just make sure we got this right. At first it was 11, right? Then it was 8. Let's just say it's 7 on this one. Well, we can say 8 again, right? Was that 19, 20? How many times do you need to do that? At the minimum, right? Let's just say the 340 is the minimum before you say bye-bye to your job. And remember, it doesn't have to be $5,000. It can be $4,500 just to cover all of your expenses. Can you imagine that? You're in your mortgage, you're in your house, right? You're in your boat, wherever you're at. And you're like, man, I don't have to go to work today. Just need to hop on my computer, maybe a couple hours each month until you get to 5,000, until you get to 7,000, 9,000, 10,000. Many are at 20,000. By using the same method. You understand? All right, so I just wanted you to take a load of that. You can go ahead and get a picture of that. I want you guys free. That's why I'm showing you this, all right? So let's go ahead and continue. Now, I need to clear up a big misconception, right? This is not about maxing out lines of credit recklessly like you're using a credit card, right? You've been burned by debt in the past. This might sound risky, but the difference comes down to purpose. Credit card debt often stems from overspending on depreciating goods, things that lose value immediately, like gadgets, dinners, vacations, etc., right? But with lines of credit, the goal isn't consumption. It's all about leveraging borrowed funds to create more income than the cost of borrowing. The best part? This approach isn't just for the wealthy or the already successful. Banks and financial institutions have something of a love affair with slow growth systems like savings accounts or long-term loans because they profit the most from the time horizon, remember? If you know how to work against that grain by using tools like lines of credit, you're positioning yourself to build wealth in much shorter periods of time than traditional methods allow. Now here's where we tie it all together. Lines of credit don't just give you a nice to have safety net. They unlock the door to something much bigger, a strategy I like to call the monthly payout model. The beauty of lines of credit is that they make scaling your financial independence possible. Instead of waiting decades for investments to grow, you can create income streams that get flowing right away. And in the next section, I'm going to show you exactly why this cash flow strategy centered around short-term payouts is much more effective than traditional, slow as molasses long-term investments. Now, let's start setting the stage for what's next, a financial model designed to give you tangible monthly results now rather than someday. What if you could see actual cash coming in every single month instead of waiting years for some far off payout? That's what the monthly payout model offers. Real, consistent cash flow you can actually use now. Compare that to traditional investment methods like retirement accounts or long-term stock appreciation. With those, you're essentially locking up your money, waiting decades, and hoping the math works out in the long run. Exciting? Not exactly. But with the strategy I'm about to show you, there's no waiting, just consistent payouts that feed into your life now rather than later. First, let's talk about short-term amortization investments. They're fundamentally different, right? Think of traditional investing as planting a tree. You wait and water it for years and hope it eventually grows tall enough to give you shade, a slow and passive process. But short-term investments, they're more like planting crops that grow quickly, are harvested right away, and then replanted for the next yield. This strategy focuses on creating a predictable, quick income stream that builds month by month instead of sitting idle and growing slowly over decades. Now let's look at a familiar example. Saving for retirement in a typical 401k. You contribute for 30 years, right? Watching as the account grows little by little, hoping the market cooperates along the way. Maybe you'll end up with enough to start withdrawing after all that time. I mean, not bad, right? But what if you're someone who needs income right now? What if the stress of covering your rent, your car payments, or just saving up for your next move feels like a weight around your neck right now? That's where this method flips the framework. The monthly payout model generates cash flow almost immediately. It doesn't depend on waiting for the market or a 30-year timeline to cash out. So how does this actually work? Short-term amortization investments focus on strategies like high-yield lending, micro assets, and other options that create cash flow as they generate returns. Take high-yield lending, for example. Imagine deploying funds into an asset that pays interest back to you every month. Or let's say micro assets, which could range from things like rental payments on small-scale property shares to dividends from niche financing agreements. These income streams are designed to deliver returns consistently, turning your initial deployment of capital into monthly income you can actually use. So let's break it down. Let's say you deploy $10,000. If you use that money strategically, like investing it into a lending platform offering a 12% annualized return, your capital is now creating $100 monthly income right out of the gate. That might not sound life-changing on its own, but remember this. Short-term investments are meant to be reloaded and recycled. Once you receive the first wave of cash flow, you reinvest portions of it, letting your income grow month over month. Suddenly, that $100 per month starts scaling to higher payouts, all while your original $10,000 capital keeps working for you. It's not static like traditional investments. It's dynamic and active. And here's why cash flow beats appreciation every time. Say you got $500 rent payments due next month. Would a retirement account appreciation help? Nope. Because that's money tied up until you retire, or worse, penalized if you try to access it early. But steady monthly cash flow can cover that rent today, giving you immediate financial relief. It's the difference between using an umbrella when it rains versus holding on to one for a rainy day that may never come. You might wonder, why hasn't everyone jumped on this? Well, there's a reason for that. Think about what traditional banks and financial institutions push. Savings accounts, CDs, slow growth retirement portfolios. These make sense for them, for the bank. Banks profit immensely from tying up your money for decades, managing your funds, and collecting their fees along the way. They aren't incentivized to share strategies focused on fast, flexible monthly income because it doesn't benefit them nearly as much. That's why you don't hear about these alternatives as often. Now, the monthly payout model isn't some overly complicated financial hack. It's a practical system that fills in a long overlooked gap. Not everyone can afford to wait years for abstract wealth. Most people need money on hand for today's realities. This approach lets you achieve personal financial independence faster by focusing on cash flow over net worth. It's not about building some distant fortune. It's about replacing your day-to-day burdens, one payout at a time. Right now, think about what just one successful investment could do for you. Financial freedom isn't about chasing millions. It's about creating enough monthly income to replace your bills. Picture this. With $5,000 a month in consistent cash flow, your rent, car payments, and basic needs are covered. That's what this strategy offers, a faster, more practical path toward independence. Instead of waiting for years for investments to grow, why not use tools like lines of credit and short-term investments to see results right now? Start by exploring your options, whether it's a HELOC, a PLOC, or high-yield lending. Your first step to $5,000 a month could be one smart decision away. Folks, if you're having any questions about passive income or how to use your cash flow better, go ahead and click here, and we will see you in another video.